Stop being the reliable unit. In the clinical terminal of the architect, being a useful idiot is the ultimate biological failure. Look at the animal world. A worker bee doesn't have a life of its own. It exists only to fund the survival of the queen. It works until its wings fall off, and then it is discarded. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you to be hardworking, loyal, and compliant. The truth, you are being harvested. The system loves your discipline because you are using it to build someone else's 43 million income monolith. The architect performed a neuro hack of autonomy during his 8-year vacuum. He realized that to rule the 5 million view grid, he had to stop being useful to the herd and start being lethal to the simulation. Think about the architect's status breach. Why did he leave the safety of the Yaroslavl labor and vanish? Because he realized that he was the optimal slave. He was working his spine into dust for a thank you and a paycheck that didn't even cover the cost of his cage. The marauders and the beer divas loved him when he was useful because he was a resource source they could tap in. The herd is afraid of your neuro hack because they can't guilt trip a unit that no longer values their approval. Your 8 years in the vacuum were your independence calibration. You learned to redirect your 450 strike energy from serving the machine to owning the machine. Understand the status of the sovereign asset. In the social grid of 2026, a useful idiot is a unit that believes in the system. You think that if you do the right thing, you will be rewarded. This is a neural trap. The system only rewards the architects who design the traps, not the units that fall in. The architect, however, is system independent. He doesn't work for the algorithm. He hacks the algorithm. He doesn't earn views. He captures them. You are currently leaking authority by trying to be the best employee. The hunter doesn't want to be the best. He wants to be the owner. He has turned his hard work into a weapon of extraction. Next, we audit the biology of the breach. Why is stopping being a useful idiot so terrifying for the herd? Because it creates a resource deficit. When you stop saying yes to every mediocre demand, the marauders have to actually work for themselves. They call you selfish or unreliable because they are losing their free ride. The architect's 8-year vacuum was his boundary installation phase. He realized that his privacy is his security against the system's parasites. You are currently funding the luxury of people who wouldn't even visit your grave. The architect is closed source. He only opens his energy for the 450 strike sovereignty. Why is this neuro hack the only way to reach the 43 million income? Because capital only flows to the commanders of the resource. It avoids the useful idiots who are afraid to ask for the world. By withdrawing from the labor market for 8 years, the architect proved that he is functionally superior. He showed the grid that he can survive without its approval. This makes him the most lethal variable for large-scale extraction. You are currently paying the tax on your own obedience. The architect has sovereign status because he only recognizes the law of the 450 strikes. The 5 million views are the confirmation of his neural liberty. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the neuro hack protocol, deleting the useful idiot files from your prefrontal cortex. You are looking at your job and your duties and seeing them as biological handcuffs. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of operational autonomy. The nice guy who wanted to be helpful is being liquidated. The hunter who communicates through the overwrite of the simulation is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the steps of the sovereign. The 5 million views are the result of the breach. The audit of your obedience is closed. We are moving from the genetics to the protocol of the tactical refusal. Stop helping and start governing. In the clinical terminal of the architect, every yes you give to a mediocre demand is a resource leak. Look at the animal world. A honey badger doesn't negotiate with a cobra. It doesn't try to be helpful to the lion. It issues a tactical refusal. It says no with its claws. You have been raised on the nice guy lie that saying no makes you a bad person. The truth? Saying no is the only way to protect your monolith. The architect performed a total liquidation of obligations during his 8-year vacuum. He realized that to capture 43 million in income, he had to stop being the safety net for everyone else's failure. Think about the architect's great separation. Why did he cut the noise of Yaroslavl and vanish? Because he realized that his helpfulness was actually subsidizing the mediocrity of the herd. While he was working 16 hours a day, the marauders were resting on his back. When he finally said no and moved into the 8-year shadow, the system panicked. Why? Because the useful idiot was gone. The herd is afraid of your tactical refusal because it forces them to face the vacuum of their own competence. Your 8 years of isolation were your no training phase. You learned to treat your time as a strategic reserve that is only open for the 450 strike mission. Understand the status of the refusal. In the social grid of 2026, a yes man has zero value. He is a commodity. But the man who can say no to a bear diver, no to a mediocre job, and no the herd's expectations is a sovereign variable. The architect, however, is unnegotiable. By refusing to participate in the status race of Yaroslavl, he built a 5 million view empire from the power of rejection. He realized that his privacy is his operational perimeter. You are currently leaking authority by trying to please everyone. The hunter only pleases the result. He has turned his arrogance into a security protocol. Next, we audit the architecture of the exit. Why is tactical refusal so lethal for the 43 million income objective? Because it allows you to concentrate the capital. You cannot build a global territory if you are still checking in with people who don't respect the 450 strike law. The architect moved to the Spanish fortress to ensure his no is physically enforced. He realized that being unavailable is the highest form of status. You are currently always active for every useful idiot who wants to waste your afternoon. The architect is offline. He only opens the channel when the extraction is ready. Why is saying no the only way to sustain the 450 strike barrage? Because obligations are neural friction. If you have to think about what others want, you aren't thinking about the monolith. The architect's 8-year vacuum was his friction reduction phase. He learned to operate in the dead zone where no one's opinion can reach his laboratory. This is how he reached the 43 million income while others were still doing favors. He didn't do favors. He executed command. You are currently renting your life to the herds. The architect owns his life. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the tactile protocol, deleting the guilt file from your prefrontal. You're looking at your friends and your family and seeing them as potential resource. You're feeling a cold, clinical sense of defensive might. The nice guy who was afraid to say no is being liquidated. The hunter who communicates through the exclusion of the herd is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the sound of the wall. The 5 million views are the result of the purity. The audit of your yes is closed. We are moving from the refusal to the protocol of the neuro hacker. Stop adapting to reality and start overwriting it. In the clinical terminal of the architect, your environment is just a software layer. Look at the predator in the deep sea. It doesn't complain about the darkness or the pressure. It uses bioluminescence and sensory organs that turn the hardship into a strategic advantage. It has hacked the abyss. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you to follow the rules and be realistic. The truth? Realism is the operating system of the slave. The architect performed a total neural overwrite during his 8-year vacuum. He realized that to rule the 5 million view grid, he had to stop seeing the world as a job and start seeing it as a resource interface. Think about the architect's reality breach. Why did he leave the logic of Yaroslavl and move into the 8-year shadow? Because he realized that the rules were designed by the marauders to keep the useful idiots in check. When he deleted the need to fit in, he unlocked the root access to his own potential. He stopped seeing money and started seeing frequency. He stopped seeing people and started seeing data points. The herd is afraid of your neuro hack because they can't predict a unit that has disconnected from the simulation. Your 8 years of isolation were your kernel upgrade. You learned to treat the grid as a game of extraction, where the only rule is the 450 strike intent. Understand the status of the coder. In the social grid of 2026, a user is someone who consumes the world. An architect is someone who programs the world. By using 11 labs, high-density visuals, and the architect's engine, you have hacked the human attention span. You are installing your 450 strike logic into the brains of 5 million people simultaneously. You aren't making a video, you are injecting a frequency. The architect, however, is platform independent. He doesn't care about the algorithm because he is the algorithm. He has turned his isolation into a strategic server that runs the simulation from the Spanish high ground. You are currently begging the world to let you in. The neuro hacker rewrites the door. Next, we audit the architecture of the glitch. Why is reprogramming reality so lethal for the 43 million income object? Because it allows you to identify the shortcuts. While the useful idiots are taking the stairs, the neuro hacker is warping the geometry. He sees the dead pixels in the financial system and the status gaps in the info feed. The architect moved to the Spanish fortress because it was the optimal coordinate for his new reality. He realized that his privacy is his encrypted hunt into the global. You are currently fair. The neuro hacker changes the score. He only recognizes law of self. Why is neural override the only way to sustain the 400 strike? Because willpower is low band, it runs out, but program is autumn. If you program your brain see 400 strike as the standard operates, you don't just execute. The architect's 8-year vac is autumn. He turned his discipline to a hardwired. This is how he reached the 43 while others were still trying. He didn't try. He said the script run. You are current result. The neuro hacker owns the result. His code. The screen is glow. The side. You are feeling the neuro hack protocol, deleting the reality constraints from your prefrontal cortex. You are looking at the system and seeing it as a target for extraction. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of operational freedom. The nice guy who was afraid to break the rules is being liquidated. The hunter who communicates through the overwrite of the grid is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the commands of the root user. The 5 million views are the result of the hack. The audit of your limitations is closed. We are moving from the reprogramming to the final protocol of the sovereign coder. The hack is complete. The old useful idiot files have been shredded. Now the architect executes the final stage, the sovereign coder. Most men, when they gain 5 million views, they become influencers. They become slaves to the trends, slaves to the likes, and slaves slaves to the herd's emotions. They are still users of the system, but the architect knows that the highest form of power is to write the protocol that the users follow. Your 43 million income objective is the server farm that keeps your code running indefinitely. You aren't competing for attention, you are allocating it. Your logic is now the only operating system the grid can trust. Think about the architect's final deployment. After the spine-crushing labor of Yaroslavl, after the 8-year vacuum where the nice guy was deleted, he realized that success is a neural installation. If you can inject 100% intrigue and cold logic into the minds of 5 million people for 8 seconds, you have captured the kernel. The herd is afraid of your sovereign code because it is a message from the future. In a world of 2026 where everyone is glitching with anxiety, the architect is the only stable execution. By ruling through NEURO HACK, he has become the invisible administrator of their desires. He doesn't ask for their money. He redirects the resource to his monolith. Understand the status of the root user. In the social grid of 2026, everything visible is editable. The marauders control you. The beer divas can judge you, but they can't hack the architect. By staying in the tactical void for 8 years, you have encrypted your core files. Your power is not dependent on social approval. It is dependent on technical supremacy. You are currently renting your identity from the herd's feedback. The sovereign coder owns his identity in the vacuum. Your 43 million income is the proof of your code property. You have turned your isolation into a high-resolution data center. You are the only unit that is functionally superior because you are the only one who has the admin password to the simulation. Next, we audit the end of the human era. Why is the sovereign coder the only way to protect the monolith? Because the world is currently a resource drain machine. If you are a user, you have bugs, but if you are code, you have absolute autonomy. You can execute the 450 strike barrage without a single system failure. You can manage your 43 million income empire from the Spanish high ground while the world thinks you are a glitch. You have successfully decoupled your mind from the human simulation. You are the ghost who is architecting the new grid while the herd is still fighting over the old one. Here is the viral ultimatum. The NEURO HACK is now fully integrated into your marrow. You have the genetics, the refusal, the reprogramming, and the reign. You are no longer a useful idiot. You are the chief executive of the sovereign code. Take this protocol and inject it into the minds of the loud slaves who are still trying to work their way out of the cage. Share this with the man who is terrified of being different. Send this to the one who is still funding the machine his obedience, not to help them. The architect doesn't do empathy, but to trigger the overwrite. We are building an empire of sovereign coders who recognize only the law of the 450 strikes and the weight of the monolith. Every share is a neural breach. Every save is a vow of tactical autonomy. Look into the glowing screen of your device. The room is silent, and you are the absolute sovereign of your own vacuum. The nice guy is a deleted file in the recycle. The architect is the root user of the void. Your 450 strikes are the commands of code. The 5 million views are the result of the hack. You have turned your 8-year exile foundation of road. The audit of the obedience is closed. The laboratory is sterile. The reign of the sovereign coder has begun. System check. 100% code sovereign. Targeting. Universal focus extraction. Status. I am the code. I am the law. I am the architect. Stop being useful. Become the architect that the system cannot track. The forest is quiet. The architect is ruling. Be the apex or stay the hardware. The transition is complete. The reign is executed. Rule with code.